Hello lovelies. So this is an introduction to this project that I did last year, but this is this year and I am going to finish what I started. So this video I am making another 1950s style jumper dress. I have done this pattern 2 times before, once with the pencil skirt version and once with the A-line skirt. I have found that I like the A-line skirt better. It just is a little more comfy. And the pattern number is 3673, and I'm doing view C. And this is a really easy pattern. However, they no longer print this pattern, so you do have to buy it off of eBay or Etsy or some kind of store like that. Materials I used were the zipper, thread, etc. But I found some vintage wool blend fabric for cheap on Facebook Marketplace, and it is a brown herringbone design. I love it. It has been, for this last cold season, been my favorite dress to wear. It is comfortable, it is warm, it is comfortable. I did add pockets to it, but next time I do these pockets, I am probably going to tack down the ends towards the front so that they don't come out. That is the only downside with this pattern, is the pockets want to come out of their hole. But yes. So I do recommend this pattern. It is a very good pattern to use. I do personally have to alter it because I have a larger chest size than it is made for. This pattern is made for a B size. I am a D size. And that's without the fluctuations of life. So I had to lower the bodice 1.5 inches to make sure I had room to, have ladies. But in doing that, it fixed all the rest of the fit issues. When I've made this pattern before, I had issues fitting the waist, the hips, all of it, because the chest didn't fit. So when I do this pattern again, and I will do it again because I love this pattern, I will try to show you how I do that and why I do that. But yes, this pattern is done with a wool blend fabric, and I'm not sure the properties, so yeah, this is kind of just like an overdress. I tend to wear a blouse underneath of some kind. But yes, if you enjoyed the video, I will be doing a voiceover for this part, this one at least, so let me know if there's anything you have questions on, concerns about, and I hope you enjoy. See you all next time. Bye. So this one, as you can see, I lowered the front about 1.5 inches, maybe 1 inch, to try and accommodate my boobies. So yeah, really it is quite similar to the last one I did of this pattern. So you stay stitched around the neckline, around any curved edge, basically, to try and help it keep its shape while you're working with it. It will stretch a little bit, but you're trying to make sure it keeps its shape. So the first part you do is you seam up just the shoulder seam. I learned this the hard way in the past. You just want to sew the shoulder seam because you want to line just the bodice with the material. So by just sewing the shoulder seam, it allows you to work this flat. And when you're working it flat, it's much easier to work with than when you're trying to work with it with the side seam sewn up as well. So yes, sew the shoulder seam, and then you will line the garment by sewing around the neckline and around the armhole. Once that's done, you want to clip your curves and turn it right side out. And when you do that, you want to press the ever-living heck out of it so that it will lay somewhat nicely. If you have a dress form, at that point is when you want to put it on your dress form and make sure there aren't any lumps, bumps, wrinkles, etc. once you've done that, then you can go about sewing up the side seam, which you sew up at the same time for both. For both the lining and the dress fabric itself. How you do this is you open up the seam open up the material so the lining is on one side and the fabric's on another. And then you match up the seam allowance and make sure that the seam allowance is pushed towards the lining itself. And once that is done, then you will sew just straight up at 5/8 of an inch. And once that is secured, then you can sew the seam allowance open and then close up that piece again. You may have to iron along the top of the seam allowance again, like on the actual opening for the armhole, simply to make sure that it will hold its shape. Trying to think of what else. But yeah, this is a really simple pattern. This is my third time doing the bodice, my second time doing the skirt, simply because this skirt option is, an option. There's 3 skirt options. There's a long skirt option, there's a shorter straight skirt option, and then there's the flared option. I personally enjoy the flared option more. It's more comfortable to wear. It's less hobbly. So once you've got the side seams sewn up, then you will set this piece aside, and then you will begin working on your skirt. And the skirt has darts. The bodice itself has gathers under the bust points. The skirt has darts. So here I am just fussing with the top and making sure it all lays down. I am also, I think at this point, getting ready to put in the bust gathers and making sure everything relatively lines up. I think at this point I discovered that the fashion fabric I'm using is a little bit stretchy. It's a little bit loosely woven. I personally enjoy that. It makes it a little bit easier to gather up. But at this point I am just pinning all this so that I can do a basting stitch along the bottom, as well as put in my gathering stitch. So yes, the next part is working on the skirts and putting in the darts. At this point I decided that I was going to try a new method of putting in these darts, which is doing a ladder stitch on the front and just pulling it. And while it did work, it's not my favorite method of doing this. So I do think that the next time I do this skirt, which will be probably in the next month or so, this time I'll be doing it in black corduroy, and I will be showing you as much as I can why I dropped the bust line. For instance, I will show you my purple corduroy dress versus this dress, and why I decided to drop the bust point. Yes, once the forgetting about all that, once you've done the darts, then you can attach the pocket shapes, then you can sew up the side seams, then you can sew up the front seams, and sew up the back seams, making sure to leave room for the zipper, because this is a back closing zipper, which I freaking love. I love that this is a back zipper dress. It makes it so much easier. I never realized how annoying it is to put on side seam zippers until I hit 30, and then I realized, oh, my boobs are in the way. Seam allowance is in the way. I like back seam zippers more. So I will put up with a side seam zipper for fashion events such as more formal occasions, but for everyday wear, I think I prefer a back zip. And I can hear all your shock and awe at that snippery. So this does make it, the sewing of the darts has never been my favorite thing. It does help quite a bit in shaping the garment. However, it is kind of a pain in the ass, so I've been trying to figure out a method that I actually enjoy, and I have not found one. So, this method does work. It works better on pre-made garments as opposed to hand-making garments. So I think next time I will just sew the piece itself and fuss less. So what I did was I did the ladder stitch up the piece, and then I went back and sewed over it and then picked out those seams. I think next time I'll just skip that because it was kind of a waste of time. Plus next time I'm doing it in the black pinwheel corduroy, so I don't think this method would work so well. Because this method has to be done on the right side of the fabric, as opposed to the wrong side of the fabric, which is detrimental to when you're trying to do this. So yes, if you watched my pleated skirt video, this is when I would suggest using the pocket pattern that came with that skirt. Simply because that pocket pattern allows for princess seamed or like empire seamed pockets that aren't up at the boobs. So because this skirt, this dress pattern has a very high waist seam, it isn't good for the type of pocket that needs a waist seam to set into. So this pocket pattern that is just kind of like kidney bean shaped works really well. Also, with the way the darts on this skirt are set, it would be a very bad idea to do pockets, patch pockets, because that would just kind of look weird. And personally, I don't like I make my own. So, yes. This skirt is getting its darts put in. I did do this method of doing the darts for all 12 darts in this skirt, and while it does work, it is kind of a pain in the ass. Like I said, if you were doing this on a pre-made garment and you didn't want to have to pull out all the seamage, then I would recommend this method of taking in fabric. Because if you watch here in a moment, it all suddenly disappears. But yeah, I think next time I will probably just do my regular method of darting, because the other method of darting works better for me. So yes. Once those are sewn in, then you will put your pockets in. And these pockets are made with a lining fabric that I had left over from another project. I can't remember what project it was at the moment, but it was another project. And I just zigzagged around the edge of all these pieces. If my serger was working at the moment, I probably would have serged it at that moment. But it wasn't, so I didn't. Funny how things like that work out. Once the pockets are sewn in, then I will do up the back seam, the front seam, the side seams. And then once that's done, I will attach the bodice to the skirt So here I am getting ready to do the back seam. I have to measure down from the top and pin where the opening for the zipper ends, and then I need to somewhat line up all of this so that it's relatively even. Once all that's done, I will do a 1 1/4 inch turned hem at the bottom. I did, instead of doing the 2-inch rolled hem that they recommend, I did 1 1/4, which means I sewed a 1/4 inch in, and then I turned that up 1 inch to make the actual hem. Personally, I liked it this length. It makes it a nice, like, almost mid-calf length, and it's very comfortable and like wearing a wool blanket. I have a very hard time getting cold in this dress. Here is the dress itself. I enjoy wearing it with button-up sleeve dress shirts as well as turtlenecks. So I hope you enjoy watching this. I enjoy having pockets, and I will see you all next time. Bye.